Close your eyes for 1 second and imagine this. A man with no clear business, yet unlimited money. A man welcomed by presidents, billionaires, and royalty. A man accused by dozens of underage victims. And when the world finally demanded answers, he died in silence. This is not fiction. This is real life. This is the beginning of the Epstein Files story. The man at the center of it all was Jeffrey Epstein. Officially, he was called a financier. Unofficially, no one could clearly explain how he made his money. There were no public companies, no famous hedge funds, no transparent client list. Yet Epstein lived like someone with unlimited power, private jets, multiple mansions, a private island, access to the world's most powerful people. And that's where the first red flag appears. In the real world, wealth leaves footprints. Epstein's didn't. Despite this mystery, doors opened for him everywhere. Banks trusted him, universities welcomed him, politicians met him, media stayed unusually quiet. People assumed that if he was surrounded by powerful figures, he must be important. That assumption turned out to be dangerous. Behind the luxury was a hidden system. Epstein didn't use force at first. He used manipulation. He targeted young girls, many from vulnerable families. He offered tutoring, modeling opportunities, and easy money for what he described as harmless massages. Slowly, boundaries disappeared. Abuse followed. Victims later described how they were pressured into silence or into recruiting other girls. This wasn't random behavior. It was structured, repeated, organized. And Epstein was not acting alone. Multiple survivors identified Ghislaine Maxwell as a central figure. She arranged meetings, controlled access, and normalized abuse. Her role would later become crucial in understanding that this was not just one man's crime, it was an operation. For years, this system operated quietly. Complaints existed, warnings existed, but nothing stopped it. And then in 2008, everything should have ended. The world was about to see who Jeffrey Epstein really was. Police investigations in Florida had gathered strong evidence. Multiple underage victims had come forward. Testimonies matched. The case was serious enough that any normal person would have faced decades in prison. But Epstein was not treated like a normal person. Instead of a full federal trial, shot Jeffrey Epstein received one of the most shocking plea deals in modern legal history. He was allowed to plead guilty to minor charges, served just over a year in jail, and even during that time, he was permitted to leave prison 6 days a week. Let that sink in. A convicted sex offender involving minors was allowed to walk free most of the day. Even more disturbing was one line hidden inside that deal. It protected unnamed potential co-conspirators. That meant people connected to Epstein's crimes were legally shielded without ever being investigated publicly. This wasn't justice. This was protection. Victims were not informed. Many only discovered the deal years later. By then, Epstein was free again, richer, more confident, and more dangerous. He returned to elite society as if nothing had happened. For years, silence followed. Authorities moved on. Powerful institutions looked away. Media coverage remained limited. Survivors tried to speak, but their voices were ignored. Epstein continued flying, hosting, networking, and operating behind closed doors. Until journalism broke the wall. An investigation by the SOC Miami Herald exposed the plea deal in detail. They tracked down victims, published their stories, and revealed how the justice system had failed them. The public reaction was explosive. People couldn't believe how deeply the system had bent for one man. Pressure returned. Questions returned. And for the first time in years, Epstein was back under a spotlight he couldn't control. But the most dangerous phase of this story was still ahead. Because when the truth finally came close, everything stopped. By 2019, the pressure was impossible to ignore anymore. After years of silence, new evidence surfaced, public anger grew, and federal authorities finally acted. Jeffrey Epstein was arrested again, this time on federal sex trafficking charges. This was no small case. Investigators had flight logs, financial records, and multiple sworn victim testimonies. For the first time, Epstein faced a real threat. And that scared a lot of people. Because Epstein wasn't just a criminal, he was a connector. He moved comfortably among powerful figures across politics, business, and global institutions. Publicly acknowledged associations included former U.S. President Bill Clinton and later, Donald Trump. It is extremely important to be clear here. Being connected or photographed does not automatically mean guilt. But the real question was never just who he knew. The real question was why so many powerful people trusted him, even after his 2008 conviction. Epstein had flown dozens of guests on his private jet. He hosted people at his island and mansions. He presented himself as someone who fixed problems and opened doors. And when someone like that is arrested, investigators don't just want the crime. They want the network. That's why many believed Epstein might finally talk. Inside jail, Epstein was placed under observation. He was considered a high-risk prisoner. The world waited, expecting testimony, expecting names, expecting answers that could expose an entire system. But those answers never came. In August 2019, Epstein was found dead in his jail cell. The official ruling was suicide. But the details shocked the world. Cameras weren't working. Guards failed to perform checks. Suicide watch had been removed. Mistake after mistake after mistake. Whether it was extreme negligence or something darker, one truth remains. Epstein died before he could testify. And with his death, the most important witness in the entire case was gone forever. After Epstein's death, many people believed the story was over. It wasn't. What remained were documents. Thousands of pages of court records, depositions, flight logs, financial trails, and sealed testimonies. These became known as the Epstein Files. Some names were made public. Many others were hidden behind black ink, legally redacted, protected by the system Epstein had exploited for years. Survivors kept speaking. Journalists kept digging. Questions refused to disappear. Why were so many files sealed? Why were some names still protected? Why did justice stop at one man? Multiple warnings had existed long before Epstein's final arrest. Complaints were filed. Reports were written. Even agencies like the Federal Bureau of Investigation had information years earlier. Yet meaningful action came only after public outrage became impossible to ignore. One truth became impossible to deny. This case was never just about Jeffrey Epstein. It was about how money creates immunity, how influence delays justice, how victims are forced to wait years, sometimes forever, to be believed. Epstein didn't just abuse people. He abused systems designed to protect the powerful. Even today, the full truth has not been revealed. Some documents remain sealed. Some questions remain unanswered. Survivors are still fighting for accountability. The Epstein story did not end with his death. It was interrupted. And history shows us one thing very clearly. When truth is delayed, it doesn't disappear. It waits. If you found this video informative, please like it, share it so more people understand the reality behind the Epstein Files, and subscribe to the channel for more deep research, real truth explanations. Tell me in the comments. How did you find this video? And for more videos like this, must subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.